Hello and welcome to Sports Injury Talk presented by Regain Sports Drink and Momentum Fitness and Health. I'm Jason Venckus, a NASM certified personal trainer and corrective exercise specialist. Each time we talk, I will take a sports injury that happened over the last week or two, break it down, apply it to our lives, and talk about how we can both treat and prevent the same illness or issue in our own lives. All right, well, thank you for joining me today. I see someone tried to jump on a little bit early, according to my emails, but that's okay because this will be recorded for you, so you can catch it anytime. It'll be loaded up on our YouTube by the end of the week. So today we're going to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. What's great is he's a local boy for us Chicagoans. He grew up in the Rolling Meadows, Arlington Heights area and graduated from Eastern Illinois University before being drafted by the New England Patriots in 2014, much to my dismay, and he's now with the San Francisco 49ers. So anyway, who knows? Maybe we'll see him in a Bears uniform next year. Just rumors, right? Well, what happened here? Jimmy went down with what is called a high ankle sprain. The high ankle sprain is named in distinction to the low ankle sprain, duh, right? So the high ankle ligaments are located above the ankle, which you can see here. Just to get a little better picture here. So above here, but the high ankle ligaments are located above the ankle as opposed to the more commonly injured ligaments on the outside of the ankle. Normally you're going to feel ankle pain when you and I twist an ankle more on the outside of the insides. Well, this is up a bit higher, and sometimes you can feel it more in the front. So these high ankle ligaments actually connect the tibia to the fibula. So those are your two leg muscles, right? It is important to have stability between the tibia and the fibula at any level of exercise, because even just walking and running in place will place a tremendous amount of force at this junction in your body. So a high ankle sprain occurs when there is tearing and damage to the high ankle ligaments. These injuries are much less common than a traditional ankle sprain. So those symptoms are going to include pain above the ankle bone, so as opposed to below. And in all seriousness, though, if there is a fracture to go along with the sprain, the injured person will not be able to put any weight on it. So they will often need surgery. If there is no fracture, then they will notice pain with pointing and flexing the foot. So not as serious, right? And in that case, the person's going to use good old-fashioned RICE, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. So now a high ankle sprain occurs from a twisting or rotational injury, and you're going to see that with Jimmy here. They're common in sports, especially impact sports such as football, hockey, and wrestling. And I guess, also MMA gets thrown in there too with wrestling. So if you do have youth athletes in these sports, stay with me here for about the next 10 minutes or so. So Jimmy sustained a blow to his ankle in week 2 of the NFL season versus the Jets. His ankle was, as they say, rolled up, twisted, and the weight of a lineman, which is not light, you're not talking about, someone in a tutu here, came crashing right down on top of it. Okay, so he missed 2 games with that. So there was no fracture or separation, seeing as he only missed a couple weeks, right? If he needed surgery, he would have been out much longer. So he came back in week 5 And then against Seattle in week 8, he suffered another high ankle sprain. This time, the reports are varying from 4 to 6 weeks to months and possibly needing season-ending surgery. So they must have seen something in the x-rays on this second one that suggested that there was that separation between the tibia and the fibula. So Jimmy G is likely out for most or the rest of the year, if not the whole year. So who's at risk in the general population? Most people are kids, again, playing high-impact sports, as I mentioned before. I do know some people in their 40s that are still playing at an amateur level in hockey and football. So they're included in this group as well. So while you older guys, my friends with the Renegades and whatnot, pay attention here. Also, anyone that works on ladders, believe it or not, so just imagine that you're coming off of a ladder backwards and you step on the side of your foot instead of the bottom or the sole of your foot. Ouch, right? I've been there, working in theaters and stuff like that, coming down off ladders and scaffolding and whatnot. So what can you do to prevent these injuries in yourself or your youth athlete? Number one thing you can do is maintain flexibility. Most, if not all, soft tissue injuries are made more likely by having tight muscles. Not only do you want to stretch and foam roll before your sport, but it should also be a part of your workout routine. Many professional teams have what they call soft tissue days, and these are invaluable. They're days where they get massages and do yoga. Doesn't sound rough, does it? When you think of a football player, you can imagine a football player getting a massage and doing yoga? Probably not. You pretty much think of them lifting heavy in the weight room, and that stuff's important, but so is all that soft tissue work. And these teams tend to have less injuries, or at least less severe injuries. Now, for you and me, a sports injury is more than just time not playing our sport. Football players, these athletes, they get paid whether they're injured or not. It may affect the longevity of their career, but if they're sitting out for 2 to 3 games because of a mild high ankle sprain, they're still getting paid. But me and you, if we run out of sick time, forget it. So, a sports injury is time off of work, maintaining our health goals, and even time with friends and family if it's more severe, you're not able to get up and move around. So me and you, we need to take time for stretching. Now, in terms of which muscles need to be stretched to protect the ankle, it's the supporting muscles. The calf and tibialis stretches in foam rolls should do the trick. So to stretch the calf, you want to place, I'll go real slow with this, place 2 hands on a wall in front of you. We'll start there. Place 2 hands on a wall in front of you. And then have your feet staggered, but keep your feet flat. Now push into the wall, bending your front knee. This is going to stretch the calf complex all the way down to the Achilles. And if you actually bend both knees and push forward, you'll get even deeper into that Achilles. Remember, we talked about Achilles last time we did one of these podcasts. So now you can also use a foam roll to get at your calves as well. So now the anterior tibialis, that's basically the muscle along the shin, can be rolled, but man, is that painful. I do it for short periods of time when I'm doing a lot of running. But you can do a simple stretch by kneeling on the floor, pointing your toes behind you, and then sitting on your heels, or at least as close to as you can get it. For some people, they're so tight that they can, only sit back a little bit. And if your butt's not touching your heels, it's fine, as long as you're getting that stretch. But that's also going to stretch the plantar muscle that covers the foot and the ankle joint. And you can see here, if you're looking at our graphic right here, this will get a nice little stretch too. So additionally, you need to stay hydrated to keep your muscles pliable. You have to know I'm always going to go there with the hydration. So our muscles soak up liquid like a sponge. And I talked about this again with the Achilles, and I'm always going to talk about it when it comes to flexibility. And without liquid, without water, whether it be from food, from drink, whether it's water or high water fruits and vegetables, or hey, maybe even Regain, right? But without that, they tend to get brittle and they're more likely to snap. And that is not a pleasant sensation. So remember too that hydration isn't just about liquid, it's also about the nutrients that you're going to put into your body. So especially those electrolytes. Remember, most leading brands of sports drinks will get you the salt you need, no problem. Boy, we're really good at getting the amount of salt that we need, right? Or maybe even too much for those of us who aren't very serious athletes. But they add a lot of sugar and they have very little potassium, calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. So little plug for Regain here. Now we have an organic formula that's 99.99% organic, up from 16%, and it contains 20% of your daily potassium, 15% of your magnesium, 8% of your calcium, and 4% of your phosphorus. Again, it is completely natural, it's safe for your kids, and kids tend to like it too. So you can visit regainsportsdrink.com to find out more about that. But let's get back to the task at hand. So we talked about stretching. Let's talk about strengthening. You need strengthening exercises of the ankle too. Stronger ankles can withstand more torque. And then this can be accomplished very, very simply with a band and some pulling and pushing exercises, along with some side-to-side resistance too. So one thing you can do is with almost like it's like a giant rubber band, and you can get them in different tensions. You can get them just about anywhere now, especially online. We're going back that way here in Illinois, where everything's going back to online. You put that rubber band around your foot, and you really just kind of start tapping your toe. Okay? And that's going to strengthen the muscles around the ankle. You can also take that band, wrap it around a pole, and then you do kind of like a sweeping, like side-to-side motion. You're actually kind of twisting from the ankle a little bit, and you'll feel the muscles right inside, on the very inside of your foot around the ankle. You'll feel those working. Mine are a little tight. I just did an air one. I could feel it. So make sure you're doing those. Don't just do up and down, back and forth. Make sure you're getting some rotation in that ankle as well. If you're just coming off an injury, maybe just do the up and down, up and down. Worry about the rotation as your body gets a little bit more pliable, a little bit looser. So, in addition to that, balance. You need to add balance to your workout routine, people. If you don't use it, you lose it. The number one cause of hip fractures, believe it or not, is not lack of milk or lack of calcium. It's falling. If you have good balance and you don't fall, you're not going to break your hip. But your kids need it to. So it's not just for us old folks or older folks. Those with better balance will be able to withstand, crazy foot placement. Like if you're running and your foot turns sideways, trust me on this. I'm in my 40s and I'm running. I'm getting back into it again where I might do a marathon again in a year or two. But I've stepped in many holes or odd spots, in the pavement and turning my ankle, and I've had no sprains. Why? Because I work on my balance a lot. So adding balance to your workout routine is really, really, really simple. So you start doing exercises on one leg. Simple enough. Stand there, you're doing curls, just pick one leg up. If you're doing I do sets of 12. If you're doing sets of 12, do 6. And midway between 6 and 7, switch which foot you're standing on. And do that, through all your reps. So any way that you can get your exercises on one foot to basically work on your balance is going to benefit you in the long run. You should also check though too with the corrective exercise specialist, just to make sure that you have, if you have muscle imbalances and need to do things differently on each side. So that's a big thing too when it comes to your ankle strength. We're always going to talk about that too with the corrective exercise. Back one. All right. So now this last part's kind of controversial among physical trainers and therapists. If you have chronic ankle issues, you can wrap or tape using bandages or even kinesiology tape, that's that KT tape, but you really have to know what you're doing if you're going to use KT tape. But a simple bandage can help add support to the ankle. The only real issue is that if you're using only the tape or using only the wrap, your body's going to become dependent on it, and it's going to be hard for your body to function properly without it. When I first had my stress fracture, about 10 years ago, it's more than that now, 11 years ago, my issue, or the doctor rather, asked me if I run with a knee brace. And I said no. And he said, good. I'm like, why? I'm like, I'm hurt here. It's like, because your body will become dependent on it and it won't work the way it's supposed to. In the long run, it's better to put the work in up front and do it right. Otherwise, your body's always going to take the easy way out, and that's what makes it weaker and imbalanced. So in the long run, or in the short run, using those things are going to help, but in the long run, it's going to make things worse for you. So if you want to keep running, you want to keep working out, you stay away from those knee braces. Stay away from the knee braces, the ankle braces, any of that stuff. Take extra time off if you need to. Don't rush yourself back in anything. I mean, unless you're a major athlete and you're making major, it's a contract year, okay, then yeah, you're probably going to do that until you can get better. But try not to rely on that if you don't have to. If you're not making money off sports or whatever, just do it the safest way possible. So there are some treatments if you do have a high ankle sprain. Hopefully you don't get one. Again, staying flexible, staying strong, and it's all about making sure the entire body is flexible and strong. But the majority of high ankle sprains are treated fairly conservatively. Basically with splinting or splinting of the ankle to reduce the motion, right? You don't want to keep it going, side to side or back and forth. You want to keep it one spot. Of course, elevation and icing, as we already mentioned, part of that Rice equation, is helpful to reduce swelling. And icing, though, remember, you don't know this, but yet you'll know it now. Never ice for more than 20 minutes. 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off for an hour, hour and 40 minutes, then take a break. But never for more than 20 minutes, right? You can use non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications. They're usually prescribed. However, there is actually limited scientific evidence of the effectiveness of these drugs. That is something that I learned while researching this. So crutches may also be necessary. So those are a couple ways. Now, once the acute inflammatory phase is over, physical therapy is prescribed. And don't skip out on your physical therapy. Don't do it. And when they give you stuff to do it. When they give you stuff to do when they're done with you, do it. Seek out a corrective exercise specialist or a personal trainer that's going to hold you accountable and make you do those things. To be honest, I feel like physical therapists should always refer out to a personal trainer. You could think of it like babysitting, and maybe it is, but it's going to help you. So again, you're probably going to get, prescribed physical therapy. So basically they would start out like I would, gentle range of motion exercises, just as much as your body can tolerate, right? And then this would be followed by strengthening exercises to the muscles of the lower leg. And then if you're an athlete, they're going to start using progressive sport-specific exercises. Okay, so they're going to build you into it. You're not going to be doing if you're an athlete, you're not going to be doing box jumps 2 months in. No. Unless they're doing some of the, what's the platelet spinning stuff, PRP? Maybe, you never know. So surgery is rarely ever necessary for a high ankle sprain, again, unless you've got that separation between your two leg bones. Because then, they're separated. They need to be put back together, right? All right, so in that situation, an orthopedic surgeon would place 1 or 2 screws across the two bones to restore their normal anatomic relationship, and then you go through all that physical therapy stuff after some time off. But long story short, don't mess around with an ankle sprain. It's not something that you really want to try and run through or exercise through, again, unless you're making millions of dollars in a professional sport. Then maybe you can try and push it till the off season. But if you're a regular Joe or Jane like me, go see a doctor. All right. So if you have any injuries that you want us to cover, things that you may see, just let us know. You can reach out to us on our Facebook page at Momentum Fitness Companies. I do want to thank you for listening today. Again, if this turns into something that people really, really want, and are paying attention to, then we will turn this into an actual like full-on production podcast with intro music and beautiful graphics and all sorts of great stuff. So thank you for listening today. Make sure you visit our sponsors at findingyourmomentum.com and regainsportstrength.com. And in the coming weeks, we're going to pick another sports-related injury, break it down, and present it to you so that maybe you can avoid these same injuries and maintain your momentum. Thanks for listening.